And welcome back, everyone, to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Is it because Mortal Kombat 2 trailer came out a little while ago? Maybe, probably not. Is it because it was a suggestion where I'm like, okay, this is a character I could actually do a team for? Yeah, more or less that. So from Shadows 82, Kitana from Mortal Kombat. Her main weapon of choice are those bladed fans, although she does possess wind magic and the ability to teleport. She is the princess, daughter to Sindel, and trying to overthrow and stop Shao Kahn from just being an evil douchebag. There you go. So here we are. So what did I do for Kitana's Pokemon team? Well, her main weapon is those fans. Now, unfortunately, there really isn't a Pokemon that fights with fans like that. There is, however, Oricorio. Oh, come on, you stupid. Oricorio, the ghost form, which is a fan dancer. Now, there aren't, again, I could not think of any Pokemon that really fights using fans, but we do have Oricorio, who is a mon that does have built-in fans. It's based off a style of dancing. Add on to the whole supernatural elements of Mortal Kombat to go into the whole ghost typing. And by the way, I'm just kind of checking right now. Let me know if there is another Pokemon that does have like fans in its hands. I'm not saying it like carries these fans around, but maybe it does, or just has built-in fans. Because Oricorio, to the best of my knowledge, is the only one. There isn't really any fighting type that has built-in fans in the hand or has fan-like weapons it carries with it, unfortunately. So, yeah. But yeah, Oricorio, ghost form. Then I just wanted a straight fighting type because she is a very acrobatic fighter. I went with the one who I'd actually gone with, I think, one of the previous fights earlier, or teams earlier, Mienshao. I think it just fits her aesthetic. It's also got a similar color grading to her, a little bit. Not complete, but similar. And it's an acrobatic fighter in that way. Now, this is where I did have to get a little bit more creative. Because her lover is Liu Kang, I like the idea that one of the mon on her team is a mon that was gifted to her by Liu Kang, a fire type of some kind, because that is his primary method of fight. Well, besides hand-to-hand, his abilities lie in fire. So I like the idea of her having a fire type. Now, what kind of fire type could it have been? I didn't want to go firefighting because I felt like that. But what I actually like the idea of is her having a Flareon. Is it because it's feminine looking? A little bit, but you can have male Flareons too, so that's irrelevant. But I like the idea that he gave her an Eevee as a gift, as like a symbol of their love. And ultimately, he, like, before he was killed at one point, he had a Firestone that he was going to give her present for if she wanted the option. And so she used it in memory of him, and now she has a Flareon. I like that being kind of as her love for him burns in this Pokemon. Then I wanted something to represent the idea that she can summon tornadoes with her wind magic. But there really isn't a move that's tornado-based in Pokemon, except for, oddly enough, a non-flying type move, Twister. So I looked at the Pokemon that learn Twister. It's kind of a cop-out, but for a lot of the more attractive female characters, I oftentimes will put a one who may have some sort of fluidity or, water-based abilities. Milotic's usually a good guess, or a good go, too. With that said, though, I think Milotic does it. Its tail is also a fan, so there's that as well. But it learns Twister, which does create a tornado. So I like that idea. I think it's a good Pokemon to have on team. It's also a solid Pokemon. She also has the ability to teleport. Again, going immediately on the more feminine aspect of Pokemon, but keep in mind this Pokemon can also be male as well, and people forget that. Gardevoir, yeah, a portion of Gardevoir. So have fun with that, internet, which you already have, let's be honest. But yeah, it can learn teleport. It is also a very powerful Pokemon. It's empathetic because Kitana, despite her warrior nature, is a caring person. So I do like that as well. Last but not least, though, I have one Pokemon that is kind of a fan. Now, we do have Rotom. That's an electric fan. We're not talking about that fan. It's not really a fan, but I like the idea of it kind of being a fan. Kartana. It is just an origami little samurai. It's got one of the highest, if not the highest, base stat attack total in Pokemon at 181 and 109 speed, but it is a glass cannon. Like, this thing cannot take a hit. But it is a firm grass steel type, which leans well to the weapon usage. because it's origami, it kind of it's like she can throw it if she wanted to, hypothetically. So it kind of represents her fans a little bit, I think. And I think it makes for a good ace Pokemon in the end. Now, you know, when all else is down, throw this at the opponent, see how it goes. So with that said, how balanced as always is this team? And surprisingly, it's pretty well balanced. It's only got 3 type weaknesses that overlap: Ghost, Rock, and Electric. 2 Ghost, 1 for the pure Ghost type and the Psychic type. 2 Rock, 1 for the Flying type and the the Fire type. There we go. And 2 and Electric for the Flying and the Water type. Other than that, though, there are no crossover weaknesses for this typing for this team, like at all. I was really surprised by that. Strength-wise, it's got ×2 strength against Bug with the Flying and the Fire type, a ×2 strength against Dark with the Fairy and the Fighting type, ×2 strength against Steel with the Fire and the Fighting type, ×3 strength against Ice and Rock with both the Fighting, the Water, and the Steel type, a ×2 strength against Fighting with the Fairy and the Flying type. There we go. And a ×2 strength against Grass with the Fire and the Flying type as well. So I mean, it's actually pretty. Like, it doesn't have a distinct advantage against most types. Rock and Ice are notoriously weak defensive types, but it's still not weak. I gotta give it props. I do like that angle for the team. Oh, and I like the balance for it, for all things considered. Wasn't attempting it, but yeah. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, in Kanto, Hoenn, and Sinnoh, you cannot become champion. You can't get past the first gym leader with an Oricorio because they're just pure rock types. Brock and Fire Red and Leaf Green has Rock Tomb on the Onyx, which means it's out. Roxanne's got Rock Tomb on her nose pass, so it's taking her out. And Oricorio only learns flying moves initially. So, fun fact, by the way, if you think on it, we don't know what a base Oricorio looks like. We don't. There, in theory, is a base Oricorio somewhere that's just a normal flying type, because each one, it changes based on the nectar it gets. But what was the original form it had prior to that? Who knows? Anyway, so that being said, hypothetically, could you be the champion of those regions if you got there? Well, in Kanto, I'd say it's a little difficult. You'd have to switch from probably from Oricorio to either Flareon or Kartana to take down Pidgeot, but you're better off just taking hits. And honestly, just the Pidgeot alone is difficult. I'd probably go Gardevoir really to take it down. Then Alakazam comes out. You'd probably struggle with Alakazam. It's got higher special attacks, if I remember correctly, and better speed. But you ultimately could beat it down. But your Gardevoir would be very weak. The Rhydon would come out next. Switch into Gardevoir or Milotic, take it down. But the problem after that is you have a mix of Water, Fire, and Grass. And the sad truth is, none of these Mon have a really good advantage against a lot of them. Kartana's got an advantage against Water, sure. Flareon's got a Water advantage against Grass, okay. But the problem is your Oricorio, your other Grass specialist in this case, is already taken care of. And Milotic can handle Fire. It's not impossible, but I don't know if it's likely for you to be able to handle it. Then in Hoenn, you couldn't beat Steven with this team. You can't. Flareon and Mienshao are your only 2 good options against Steel and Rock. And even still, Bug Rock's going to resist both of those, as is Claydol. And Metagross is going to resist Mienshao. And I have a feeling your Flareon's going to be down for the count pretty early on, because once you bring that out, they're going to bring out something that's going to be able to handle that. So, no, I don't think you can beat Steven. Cynthia's a weirdly a maybe. It is a maybe. You're gonna have to switch out of Oricorio. Although, frankly, you're probably gonna want to just have Oricorio to do as much damage as possible, then switch into Gardevoir, and then take out the Spirit Tomb. Then she's probably gonna bring out Roserade, but that's who's gonna kill who first kind of scenario. Because Psychic versus Poison and Poison versus Fairy. So take your pick. Gardevoir's either dead at the end of that or barely alive. They'll bring out then Milotic or Gastrodon, or die at that point. No use in letting it, hang around. Kartana takes care of both of those 2 real quick. And then Lucario comes in, you bring out Flareon or Mienshao, deal with that, and you still have 3 Pokemon available to do a Garchomp. Difficult, but not impossible. What about Johto? Well, Johto, I actually don't see you having a problem with any of the gym leaders. Because of your ghost typing, you're immune to any normal type moves from Bokter, who so you should be fine. And then you'll actually kind of blitz through the rest of the gyms. The Elite Four, none of them are really going to do much against you. Psyche type, Oricorio's got a ghost typing. It's going to be able to do a decent amount of damage. Honestly, Flareon can take care of the Executor on the team. Kartana's steel typing is going to be very advantageous against these guys too. Against Koga, you won't really struggle. Flareon can handle the bug types. Steel type is going to be immune to poison, so there's that. Yeah, it might be a little bit more difficult with Koga, but you should be able to handle it. Bruno, you should be able to handle fine between his Onyxes and his fighting types. Honestly, Karen's dark typings, you've already got Tumon overly strong against them. And even still, she's also got Vileplume and Gengar on the team, which you should be able to handle without too much difficulty. It's Lance that's the problem. Your Gardevoir, while immune to Dragon, still has to also deal with Charizard, Aerodactyl, and Gyarados. And this team is not good against flying types. Like, this does not have any advantages against flying at all. If anything, it actually has a couple weaknesses more than it has advantages in flying. Because Mienshao is weak to flying, and the entire team's flying at minimum. So, I don't know if Gardevoir is going to make... Like, you want to try to keep Gardevoir in the wings if you can. So, you'll still lead with Oricorio. Honestly, just try to get the hits when you can. Oricorio is probably going down, because he starts at Gyarados. You don't have a good option for Gyarados. Like, nothing. Like, Kartana might be your best option, or Gardevoir. So, you're either going to have to really sacrifice your ace, or one of your aces. Because in this fight, those are your two aces. I say sacrifice Kartana, because it's going to die to the Charizard. If it doesn't manage to take down the Gyarados, it'll almost manage to do it. But then Charizard comes in and just obliterates its ass. Milotic can come in, and they'll go toe-to-toe a bit, because Charizard is flying, so it does have other moves on it. Then he's still got Aerodactyl, who is going to outspeed Milotic, unfortunately. I love Milotic, but I don't know if it's going to survive going to all those rounds, unfortunately. And then, even if it does, then the Dragonite comes, takes that out. Now you can bring out the Gardevoir, but Dragonite doesn't solely have Dragon moves is the problem. And one Fairy move is not going to take Dragonite down. So, unless it's a very strong Fairy move, like a Moonblast or something like that. And even then, that's not a guarantee. And still, Dragonite's got pseudo stats. I believe it does outspeed Gardevoir. And then you're going to have to, if Gardevoir goes down, he has at least 2 left. You're SOL. If Mienshao's not taking it down, it doesn't have any real moves that go up against Dragon. Neither does Flareon. Hell, even if one Dragonite's still around, you're still probably not in good shape. So I don't think you can beat Lance. Univille, long and short of it, the only ones you'd struggle with are Roxy and, weirdly enough, Marlin, just because he's a pure water type, and this team's not very good against water, save for Kitana. So, but Roxy and White 2, you'll have Oricorio and Mienfoo at that point. Mienfoo ain't going to do much. Oricorio will probably get the job done, though, because it has flying type moves against her Whirlipede, but you're still going to struggle, and it resists poison, so you should be okay, but it will be a little bit of a fight. The question comes down to, can you beat the champions? And the answer is Iris, no. Even with Gardevoir or Hydreigon, he's got more than enough coverage against that. And still pseudo stats against that thing. And it's got things other than Dragon Rage. So, yeah, Gardevoir is probably not, it might take down the Dragon, the Hydreigon, but then she's probably going to bring out either like Aggron or Lapras or something. Something that would not be resisted, something that Gardevoir would not be immune to. Or she's just going to bring out, like, say, Druddigon and just use something that isn't dragon-based against it. And then she's going to kind of cleave house with the Hexorus if you're not able to take it down. And then Alder, honestly, right out the gate, he starts with a Selgor. Like, it's going to outspeed the Oricorio, so even if it gets a hit off, it's going to just take that thing down. So then you have to make the choice of, do you go Flareon? If you go Flareon, yeah, maybe, but he can outspeed that thing. Then whatever he brings out, and it's still going to injure that Flareon pretty hard, even with a resisted, like, Bug Buzz. So then he's probably going to go Buffalot, or he's going to go Druddigon. You could go Gardevoir on that, but Flareon's already kind of weak. So you got to make the option of, do you just sacrifice the Flareon, or do you keep it out, or do you take it back? If you take it back, whatever you bring in is going to take a big hit from a Buffalont, because he's not going to bring Velo in. Maybe he brings Druddigon in, so maybe switch into Gardevoir. But if he's not using, say, a Dragon move, the Gardevoir's going to take a hit. So then maybe it goes down. Then the Buffalont comes out. Or actually, I could see the Escavalier coming out. And then you bring out Flareon, but well, you'd actually have to make the choice. Do you bring out Flareon? Because it's already weakened at this point. If it takes a hit and goes down, you got nothing strong against that Escavalier, which means you are really struggling. I personally would like to let Gardevoir take the hit. Gardevoir's probably going to have to go down, in which case then you bring out Flareon. It takes down the Escavalier. Okay, now you just got to deal with the Vanillish, you got to deal with the Buffalont, and you got to deal with the Volcarona. Okay, still doable right now. Problem is, Buffalo's coming out and it's taking down the Flareon. I don't think there's any argument in that. You can't, because knowing his team, you have enough to deal with his team of that. Then bring out Mienshao. It probably takes down the Buffalont. Then he's going to bring out Vanilluxe, because that's just the way it rolls, and you take that down. You got 3 Mon left. He brings out Volcarona, and he Quiver Dances. And you do not have a damn thing on that Mienshao to take that thing down. You have Milotic. You do have Milotic. But you gotta let that you're gonna have to let the Mienshao die, because if that Milotic goes down, you're effed. Because your Kartana is absolutely crap against that Volcarona. It is not doing a damn thing. So the Mienshao can tries to get whatever hats it can get off on. He's gonna do probably at least 2 Quiver Dances, then starts just burning you alive. And then he brings out the Milotic, and at that point, you better pray you can take a Bug Buzz. Because even then, you probably can't, even if you could take a Bug Buzz, his special defense has gone up too, so you're kind of screwed. So no, I don't think you could beat Alder. In Kalos, the long and short of it, yes, you could become champion in Kalos. Honestly, this team is actually pretty easy against Diantha, because Oricorio's immune to the Flying Press, and Ghost resist poison. So you're either going to whittle that thing down before a Tyrantrum ever comes out, or it manages to barely take down your Oricorio. You go into, I don't know, Flareon, do your thing, take it down. Tyrantrum comes out, swap into either one of your Mons, and then just, I'd say, do what damage you can with Flareon. You might say, well, you keep sacrificing your Mon. There's a reason for it. Mienshao comes in, takes down the Tyrantrum, takes down the Aurorus. It would go toe-to-toe with the Goodra, but the Goodra probably outlasts it, because Goodra's got a good butt on it. But then you bring out the Gardevoir, take down that, then you'd handle the Gourgeist, not much difficulty. She has Mega Gardevoir. Your Gardevoir will probably go down, but not before you get like a Shadow Ball or something off on it. And then you just kind of go Milotic after that, deal what damage you can with that, and then go Kartana with a Steel-type move and take it down. So yes, you can become champion of Kalos. What about Galar? Actually, yes, you can become champion of Galar's team. And this all it comes down to is Gardevoir, really. Because Oricorio is going down to Aegislash. No one's arguing that. Flareon would take down the Aegislash next. Then comes Dragapult out. Now, you're probably it's gonna take the Flareon down, but you will get hit. And then you bring in Gardevoir. It's still gonna have to take a hit, but then it's just gonna use a Furry move and take out the Dragapult. The AI brings out the Haxorus next. It's probably going to try to do a Dragon Dance, but he'll probably take it down with another Fairy move. Then he's going to bring out whatever his random Mon is in this scenario, be it Mr. Rhyme, Rhyperior, or Seismitoad. That will probably take down Gardevoir, who would still be very injured at this point. So you're probably just best off doing what damage you can on there. Then you go into Mienshao, which will take down whatever one of those is, because they're almost all weak to... in fact, they're almost all weak to... Or actually, you bring up Milotic, because they're all weak on some level to water. And then you would... then he brings out whatever his starter is. Now, that's going to be all dependent on the version of the game you got. Because if he brings out Rillaboom... See, Cinderace and Inteleon are actually not that big of a problem. Except for Kartana, which you don't have right now. Rillaboom, though? Steel's not actually strong. It resists grass, but it's not strong against grass. Yeah, Milotic's probably going down. So you're gonna have to go into Mian Xiao for the next one. Now that's assuming, by the way, that he has Rillaboom. I imagine Milotic can definitely take down Cinderace and might be able to take down think words. Might be able to take down Inteleon, maybe. But then you got Charizard there. And you know what? I think I actually misspoke here because I think it's a maybe you could become it depending how far your Gardevoir goes. That's what's really going to come down to because the Charizard, Kartana's got great attack, but it's so weak against Charizard. And the Mienshao is also a fighting type, so that's not good either. So I actually think I might have misspoke on this. It's probably not likely, but I think there's a small chance you could become. You're great in the early game against him. But once the second half comes in, it's so randomized that it's kind of hard to figure out which is what. But regardless, last but not least is Paldea, and honestly, long and short of it, yeah, champion of Paldea wouldn't be that hard. None of the gym leaders are any that big of a challenge to you. Some of the Elite Four pros a little bit of a problem, but Milotic can frankly sweep Rika. Poppy, you've got two Mon strong against Steel right out the gate. Flying, you don't have any real Mon strong, but you're also not that weak. Mian Xiao would go down, but you got a Grass Steel type who's resistant and will cleave through a bunch of those guys. So without super high attack stat, Gardevoir can do its job, so it's fine. And then Hassel, thanks to having a Steel and a Fairy type on the team, you should be fine because Steel resists Dragon too. And then Gita, frankly, Gita is not that big of a problem. She starts with a Pathra, you have a Ghost type, whatever Revelation Dance, so that means it's a Ghost type move. That means you take down that. Also, Velouz is going down. You have a Fighting type and a Fire type for King Gambit and Avalugg and Go-Goat. So yeah, no, her team is just not good, and she doesn't know how to use it very well. And now when we get to the second part of like her rematch, that's different, but still. I digress. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.